Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I'm doing a getting ready with me, and I'm just gonna jump right into it because yesterday when I did a getting ready with me, when I filmed it, it's probably not up yet. I felt like it went on way too long, and I rambled on, and then eventually ran out of things to talk about, and I was still like working on my makeup and wasn't ready yet and stuff. So I'm trying to be a little more on the ball today. Because I already picked out the shades I'm going to use instead of sitting here being like, should I go with this one? Should I go with that one? Because like that's boring for you guys. So I'm just jumping right into it to try and save some time. But before I sat down to film today, first of all, I know I've got some like weird little flyaway hairs. This is just what happens when I straighten my hair and then put it in a high ponytail. It just has these funny little things that stick up, but that's okay. I don't really mind it too much. And I think I'm filming at a good time today because my two cats, two of the three, are over there, and they're kind of like really playful right now, so you might see them playing with each other over there if you notice some weird stuff happening in the background. That's what that is. But anyway, I was gonna say, so I was sitting here about 15 minutes ago, getting my coffee and getting ready to film, and I was feeling kind of headachy, and I was like, oh, man, what should I talk about today? Because again, like I felt like the last video I didn't really have like a clear direction of like what I want to talk about. I was just kind of talking about anything and everything, and it was like directionless, and I felt like that was kind of lame. So I was like, okay, I should think about a topic or something beforehand, so that I have something to talk about for this video. And my life's pretty boring, you guys. Like, I don't have like a lot of drama that goes on, so I don't really have like a ton to talk about ever. So sitting here, my head was hurting, and I was thinking like, what am I going to talk about? And then I thought, wait, why don't I just talk about that, migraine headaches? Because I know it's pretty common, especially with women, and I know the majority of my audience is women. So I'm sure out of my small like 75 or whatever it is, not even 70 subscribers at this point, I'm sure somebody out there can relate to what it's like to suffer from migraine headaches. But for those of you that don't know much about them, that's another reason why I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to talk about it, because I think it's one of those things that is not talked about enough, or not understood at least, because they're very hard to describe to somebody who doesn't experience them themselves. And so I feel like there's a lot of misunderstandings about migraines, and people tend to think that they're just like a really bad headache, and that's not really the case. It is, but there's way more to it than that. So I just thought I'd tell you guys kind of my story about how I experience migraines and what it's been like for me and what I do to, I guess, combat them, because there isn't like really, there's no like cure, there's not even really an explanation as to like why certain people get migraines and other people don't. So it's like one of those things in life that isn't very well studied, I guess you could say. Also, just a side note, this eye right here, when I'm patting on the eyeshadow, it like is so sore, like just right there, and it's like feels like a bruise, and I'm like really like a little bit worried that like I have some kind of a sty or something developing. Like I don't see anything yet. Oh my god, I can't go that far close to the camera because the sun is like right in my face, and it's not even that sunny outside, you guys. This is just like how pale I am. Like I know I always talk about like how I'm super white, and like so many eyeshadows are just don't work for me because I'm so freaking white, and I never like feel like it actually looks on camera how it looks in real life of how pale I am. But now you know, like this is kind of it. So yeah, there is sun coming in the window, but it's not even direct sunlight, I guess is the thing. So I'm just really pale. But okay, so let me just get right into talking about migraines. So I started getting them when I was young. Like my mom says that I even complained about having head pain, like headaches and things like that when I was like a little kid. I don't have the best memory of that, but as far as my memory goes, I remember getting them around the time, I guess, when I kind of hit puberty, and that I'll go on to explain why that makes total sense. But I was about 10 or 11 or 12, maybe somewhere in there, when I first started getting my migraines. And they started out like somewhat, I guess, manageable. Like they would last about, let's say 4 to 6 hours at the beginning. And it was mainly just head pain. Like there was no other symptoms that I really got with them except for the head pain. And a lot of people don't even realize that migraines are anything more than just head pain, but they are. But at this time, when I first started getting them, when I was like 10 or 11 or 12, they weren't. They were just kind of like really bad headaches. And I didn't even really know they were migraines at first, but I did know that they were definitely connected to, well, I didn't realize this right away because I was getting like, I was like 11 or not even, I guess I was a little older, maybe 13, because I would get them corresponding with my period. And at that time, when I was that young, periods were like a new thing for me, so I didn't really make the connection right away. And I didn't really realize that it was kind of part of that, the whole cycle thing. But then when I went sort of through high school, they started to get worse, just in terms of the amount of pain. Like the pain was more severe, and it was really starting to like, this is when it really started to make it so that I couldn't function, because the pain was so severe. I would have to come home from school sometimes because it was so bad, and the duration would be worse. Like it would last, instead of like 4 to 6 hours, it was starting to last maybe 8 to 10, 10 to 12 sometimes for a really bad one. And I guess this is kind of when I started to put it together, like a few years, like maybe late high school is when I started to realize, like, hey, this always seems to happen on like either the first day of my period or like the day right before my period starts, like right around that like beginning of my period time. So that's when I kind of like went to doctors and was like, what's up with this? I kind of knew at that point that they were migraines because my mom and my grandma and my mom's sister and my mom's like nephew and like just basically everyone, most people on my mom's side of my family, unfortunately, suffer from these migraines. So she kind of like saw what was happening and was like, oh yeah, you got the migraine curse. So that's how I kind of figured that they were migraines. But I went to the doctor anyway, just to be like, what can I kind of do about it or whatever, and figure out what was kind of triggering it. Because the thing about migraines, if you don't experience them, you maybe don't know this, but they can be triggered by things. So obviously mine were hormonal. Something about whatever hormones are released during your period would cause me to get migraines, but it's not always the case, like that's what the trigger is. For example, like my cousin, who's a guy, obviously isn't, I mean, maybe he's triggered by some kind of male hormone influx, but I think his are more weather related. So you can get them in conjunction with like bad like shifts in weather, like that are pretty noticeable. So yeah, it's just, it could be certain foods, it could be like all kinds of things that could trigger them. But I knew my main trigger was hormones, unfortunately, because that's like the one thing, like at least if it's like a food trigger, you can kind of like not eat that food, but not so much the case for a hormone related problem. Um, yeah, so then after high school, I wasn't really doing anything like about it except for, you know, trying, like I would take Tylenol. Oh, what is that? I just got a giant blob of eyeshadow like flicked off the brush and went right there. I'm gonna have to fix that. That's annoying. See if I can like dust it off a little bit. That's frustrating. Hang on a second. I'm just gonna take some powder, like setting powder, and kind of go over it because I feel like it's not that bad. It's not like it's black eyeshadow or anything. It's probably gonna be fine if I just cover it a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. I'm fine with it. You guys obviously can't really even tell because the sunlight on my face is making this video kind of silly because you can't really see. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull the line down a little bit and it might fix the lighting just a touch. All right, is that better? That seems better. I think that's better. Yeah, so basically all I was doing to kind of cope with my migraines at this point was took like extra strength Tylenol and would try and sleep it off. But at this point, like, I started to experience some of the other symptoms that go along with migraines. Or at least I started noticing them. I may have had them before this, but I wasn't super observant of it. Like I don't know, sometimes it's like hard to put it together that it's all connected. So I could have maybe experienced these things and not associated them with the migraine because they sometimes hit at different times. So I'll explain what I mean. For example, when I get a migraine, it basically hits me first with, like, before the head pain starts. I get extremely, extremely tired. Like, it'll just hit me in the middle of the day. I'll be exhausted. I'll be, like, falling asleep. Like, straight up falling asleep. Yawning every couple of minutes. Like, I'll just continuously yawn over and over and over again. And then the head pain starts usually, and sometimes I get like an aura. That's what they call it. That's what the doctors call it. It's basically when you get some kind of visual symptoms. Like for me, what it is a little dot in the center of my vision. So like imagine you're just looking at the world, you know, as you do, and there's like a little dot in the center of my vision that's like blurry, kind of. And that's how it starts. And then like over the course of, say, 15 minutes or so, 15-20 minutes, the dot expands into like a blurry circle. So I can still see everything, but there's this circle right in the middle of my vision that's just like fuzzy. It's like a fuzzy little, funny little circle. Like the best way I can describe it really is like if you've ever been to like a barbecue and like, you know, when the heat rises up from the barbecue on like a hot summer day, and if you look at the air like right above the barbecue, it kind of looks like all wonky and like blurry because of the heat. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. I'm not talking about smoke. I'm not talking about anything that you can like visually see really, except for a texture almost. Like it's like warped. It's like blurry. So that's kind of what this circle looks like in my vision. And then over the course of about 15 to 20 minutes, the circle just expands and expands, and then like the center of the circle is still focused. I can still see everything in the center of the circle. I can still see everything on the outside of the circle. It's just this ring of blur, and the ring just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then like by the end, it's just like my peripheral vision is kind of blurry, and then it goes away. And like that's kind of like a sign for me now. I don't get it every single migraine, but I get it sometimes, and that's kind of like a telltale sign, like, okay, I'm getting a migraine. Like, this is a warning sign that I'm about to get hit with a migraine. So that's something I started picking up on in high school, was this visual cue and the yawning and the tiredness. And then throughout college, and I think maybe this had something to do with the fact that I was like not taking as good care of myself because I was in college, so like mom wasn't making my food for me anymore, and I was kind of eating shitty food, and I was kind of, you know, I was drinking a lot, and there was just like a lot of lifestyle changes for not for the better, like for the worse. And so that may have contributed to making my migraines get worse. But throughout college, my migraines definitely got worse. Like that, what used to be like an 8 or 12 hour thing, where I'd be bedridden basically for that day, was becoming longer and longer and worse. Like the pain was so much worse. Like it got so severe. It got to the point where I started getting migraines so bad that firstly, they would last way longer. They would last about, like, throughout college and a little bit afterwards. And until today, basically, but I'm going to talk to you guys about how I treat them now. But my migraines are no longer like a little 8 to 10 hour like blip. They last between 24 and 48 hours. I've had some that are longer. Like I've had a few bad ones that last about 40 hours. Or sorry, not 40. That's about a mid-range one. What's 3 days? 72 hours? 3 days, basically. Like 3 full, solid 24-hour days. 24, 48. Yeah, like 70. That's like being like my worst ones. They're not all that terrible. They're, on average, I would say they're about between 24 and 48. Like between a day, solid day, and 2 days. And that's constant pain. Like pain so bad, I'm like in tears. You know, it's horrible. It's horrible. Anybody who gets migraines like knows what I'm talking about. But I was getting them so bad. Like it was in college when I first got a migraine so bad that it caused me to be vomiting. Like I was throwing up. The pain was so bad. I also started noticing, again, this might have been the case all along and I just didn't pick up on it until like I had experienced it enough. But I noticed other symptoms along with the yawning and the visual side effects, I guess you could say. But also just general grogginess, general like what they call brain fog, which is kind of just like an inability to focus on what you're doing. Like everything feels like you've just kind of woken up like 5 minutes before, except it doesn't go away. And it's like that for the entire time you have this migraine. Not that I can really try and do much, like when I have it, I'm in bed, but like even leading up to it a little bit and like after the significant pain goes away, there's still a period of time when I feel really out of it. I feel really not myself, you know, like on its own that wouldn't be so bad, but when it's combined with nausea, vomiting sometimes, severe head pain, extreme fatigue, and then visual symptoms sometimes, like all these things combined can be pretty difficult to deal with. And I know I'm not alone in this, because I think they say migraines affect like 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 people. So I know somebody watching this. I know you. I know whoever you are out there that's watching this and is like, preach, girl, because I know. Yeah, I feel you, and I know you're watching this, because even if I only get like 5 views on this video, one of you probably is like, I get it. So anyway, yeah, so after this all happened, you know, it still continued, like I said, it still continues to happen. I'm not over it, it's not cured, but after college, about a couple of years after college, like I had just been dealing with this with some Tylenol. That's all but Tylenol didn't really do anything. Like it used to in high school, it used to help, but I don't know if I developed some kind of immunity or like if my migraines just got worse or what, but like by the time I was in college and after college, Tylenol just wasn't cutting it. Like I would take like 2 extra strength Tylenols and like I would try Advil, I would try like anything over the counter basically. I would try and it just didn't do shit. Like it was so frustrating because you just want it to work and then it doesn't, and then you can't take anything else because you can't just like take Tylenol and then be like, okay, that didn't work, I'm going to take Advil now. Okay, that didn't work, I'm going to take Midol. Okay, that didn't work, I'm going to take Aleve, or, you know, whatever the fuck else you want to try to take. Because you can kind of only try one thing, or so they say. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you have to just like suffer through it. So around the time, so after college, I met, you know, my husband, and we were living together at this point, and we had actually just up until a couple of years ago when we bought this house. We were living in this house, and I was working at McDonald's. I've mentioned this in other videos. I used to work at McDonald's full time. And I was missing a lot of work because of these migraines, and it was just really, really impacting my life. And this was like right around the time I started pursuing what I do for a living now, which is wedding photography. But I realized, like, how am I, like, it almost was like a roadblock, because I didn't want to, it like prevented me from really going after it at first, because I was like, how am I gonna be able to, like, I can't just miss work if I'm a wedding photographer. I can't just call in sick, you know, like, that's somebody's wedding. Like, you can't just be like, oh, sorry, got a migraine. Like, it's not gonna work, especially when it's like your own business. And like, even if it's not your own business, but like, point is, like, if you don't have like other staff to like fill in, which obviously I wouldn't, it just wasn't gonna work. And I was like, oh shit, like, what am I gonna do? So I got another appointment with my doctor and was like, listen, these migraines, I know that there's no cure. I know they're like, I've heard it all before about how migraines are just a thing and you just have to kind of deal with them and blah, 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 blah. Like, I've talked to many a doctor about this, and they all say the same thing about how, you know, you kind of just have to live with it, and it sucks, but that's what it's like. And like, I was just so distraught, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I supposed to hold a job? How am I supposed to live my life? And my doctor finally prescribed me a medication, like a prescription grade medication. And the prescription, I'm gonna share it with you guys because it has pretty much turned my entire life around. It is like a miracle drug. I love it. I swear by it now because it has made me able to function, at least in some capacity, during my migraine attacks. I would say not to my full potential, because it doesn't cure, it doesn't get rid of every single symptom. Like, for example, this medication that I take now does not get rid of the brain fog type stuff. Like, it doesn't make me feel like tip-top shape, you know, like I'm still feeling pretty out of it. When I take this medication, I still feel like kind of tired. I still feel kind of groggy, but it does a really amazing job at just getting rid of the pain. And for me, the pain was by far the worst part of a migraine attack for me. Like, the pain, and I feel like the pain is what caused the nausea and the vomiting and stuff, because like the pain was just so bad. So like, I find this medication is really good for getting rid of that. Like, it makes it so that I can eat, because like before it was like, even if I wasn't like puking, or even if I wasn't like so nauseous that I was like about to puke, even if I felt like sort of okay, I would have zero appetite. Like, I could not eat. And this medication is really good for like getting rid of that feeling. Like, I feel like I can eat normally, I can do things. I just, like, the pain is dealt with in a really effective way. The only thing is, again, like, the side symptoms of feeling out of it and not feeling like myself, that still kind of happens. That's not anything this medication can really do much about. But just getting rid of the pain is enough, for me at least, to be like, this is so worth it. Like, it's changed my whole entire life. And I don't know why I wasn't taking this medication before, because if I knew how effective it was going to be, I would have. Okay, so there's a bit of fallout happening here. I'm gonna have to touch it up a little bit with something. I've been trying to dust it off with this brush, but it's not really working. I'm just going for like a neutral look today, as you can obviously tell. Okay. So, give me 2 seconds to just sort of correct some of this stuff going on with my makeup, and I will continue with the story. I don't really want to like redo all of my face stuff here. I'm just going to go over it with a powder. I'm going to look super cakey today because I keep going over everything with powders and stuff, but whatever. I don't really have anywhere to be today. I'm just kind of doing this for fun. That's fine, whatever. I don't really care. It's a little, there's still a little bit of darkness right here kind of thing, but I don't care. I don't care that much. All right, that's fine. Time to grab my mascara and stuff. All right. So, oh my gosh, my hair. So the oh, come on, focus, there we go. The medication I was prescribed for my migraines is called, I believe it's called Maxalt, but I always get like the generic one because money and stuff, like it's cheaper, and I mean I have insurance, so it's covered, but for the most part from my husband's insurance, but it is called Maxalt, or rizatriptan is like the generic name, and it is like the best thing ever. The only downsides I find to this medication is, I mean, there are like side effects and like risks to taking it. Like you can't really take like a ton of it. Like you can't take one like every single day. If you're somebody who suffers from migraine every day, oh my god, bless your soul. Like I don't know how you live. But there are people, I've heard there are people out there that get migraines like on a very, very regular basis, like every other day or like a few times a week. If that's the case, this drug might not be for you. Like obviously ask your doctor. I'm not a doctor, so you'd have to like talk to your doctor about your specific circumstances. But for me, getting them a couple of times a month, like I get them for sure at the beginning of my period every month. That's like a guaranteed migraine. Then I get them usually at the end of my period or like a couple days after it ends. So those two are usually like a for sure, but then occasionally I'll just like randomly get one for seemingly no reason, like in between, like just randomly. So for someone like me who gets them, you know, a few times a month, like nothing too crazy, it's a good option because you can take that, like you can take them. I think there's some kind of a limit. It says all this stuff is available when you get the medication. It gives you that little pamphlet with all the details about like how to use it and all that crap. But it says basically not to take it, like there's a limit on how many times you can take it in a week, and it's like a couple of times, you know. It's not like, I mean, I don't even know if, I think maybe twice is like the max you can take it in 1 week, because anything beyond that, like they haven't really studied the long-term effects, and like it could be dangerous and all that crap. But for someone like me who can take it as needed a couple of times a month, it's perfect. And it's, I mean, I shouldn't say it's perfect. There are a couple things I do want to mention about taking it. It does take a really long time to take effect. So if you don't take it right when the migraine hits, like right when you first know, like, okay, I'm getting a migraine, you gotta pop that sucker down, because if you don't, it doesn't always work. Like there was one time I felt a migraine coming on, and I think I just like didn't have any left or something. So I was like, oh shit, I better go to the drugstore. But it was like at night, so I believe the drugstore was already closed. So I was like, well, crap. Like the drugstore's closed. It was like, I think 10 o'clock maybe at night. something like that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to try and sleep it off. And I'm going to get up in the morning and go. And if it's still there in the morning, which, I mean, chances are it will be, I'm going to go to the drugstore first thing in the morning, get this medication and get it down, and hopefully something will happen. And that's what I did, and it did not work. I waited way too long. I obviously slept for like a solid, I don't know, 8 or whatever hours, got up and went to the pharmacy right when it opened, but it was like, it had been like 12 hours by that point or something, or 10 hours, and that was way too long to wait. So like at that point, there was no point me even taking it. I tried to take it. It just didn't work, and I was, you know, had the classic like bedridden, nausea, couldn't eat anything, couldn't like look at any screens, couldn't look at any bright lights for like the entire next like 30 hours or something. Wow, that one. I have like a milk mustache, but like a coffee mustache. Yeah, so take it right away. It doesn't work if you don't. And then the other thing is that even when you take it right away, like say you start to feel your head pain or whatever other symptoms you may get as a warning sign, I don't think you're supposed to take it before the head pain. That's the other thing. It says it on the package. Like, all this information is available. If you actually get this medication, you'll be able to read it for yourself. But you're not supposed to take it, like, if you just get like the aura, you're supposed to wait until you actually feel the pain. I guess that's so that it's not like a false alarm or something. I don't really know, but yeah, so you have to take it when you first feel the pain, but then you want to take it immediately when you feel the pain. And at that point, if you're anything like me, once you start to feel the pain, it only takes, you know, maybe half an hour to an hour before like the pain really starts to really like hit you. And the unfortunate thing about this medication is it does take, for me anyways, it usually takes about 1 to 2 hours before I start to feel the effects of the medication. So by that point, like, I have to basically suffer through like an hour to 2 hours of pain before it starts to take effect and get rid of that pain. So that's kind of a downside, but it's still well worth it in my opinion, because like, I'm used to having 30 hours of pain and nausea and just the whole thing. And so if it means if I can take something and reduce that to 2 hours of like moderate to severe pain, and then it subsides, that's so much better in my opinion. But if you're one of those people that, like, migraines are such a funny thing because everyone experiences them differently. Like, my husband gets migraines, but he gets them like weather related. And his only last like 6 to 8 hours maybe. So like, if you're one of those people that gets migraines, but they only last you like 4 hours or something, then maybe this medication will be stupid, because by the time it kicks in, you're like halfway there anyways. Like, it's like halfway over for you. So it really all depends. Like I said, talk to your doctor about it. It's called Maxalt, or rizatriptan is the generic name for it, but it has changed my whole entire life. And honestly, I'm like low-key a little bit scared because my husband and I are hoping to get pregnant soon, and obviously I wouldn't be able to take those kinds of medications while I'm pregnant. And I don't want to go back to life before this medication. I really don't. Like, it was so awful, and I'm just so blessed to have this medication in my life now, and it's like scary to me to have to go back to a world of having to suffer through my migraines. Like, I'm hoping, because my migraines are hormone related, that if I do get pregnant, you know, I won't be getting a period, so maybe that means I won't be getting a migraine. I mean, it's wishful thinking for sure, but you know what? It's possible. I'm just going on the hope that that is the case. But the only thing that's going to suck is, like, I've thought about this, and I've thought, because I like, my main migraine that I always get comes at like the beginning of, like, right before I get my period. And so if I'm hoping that I'm pregnant, then I won't like know until after I get my period or don't, right? And then it will be too late and I'll have to suffer through the migraine and it's just gonna be horrible. But cross that bridge when I get to it, I guess. So I'm almost done with this look. I've tried to go a little quicker this time. I'm such a slow makeup applier, so I know it's kind of boring for you guys to watch me do this super slow-mo, but the last thing I really have to do here is just my mascara, and that's what I'm doing now. I mean, I'm gonna do like some blush and stuff too, but I don't have to necessarily do that on camera for you guys. Okay. And yes, I'm using 2 mascaras right now because I have like the Smashbox one, but I kind of hate it. But it works good for separating. So I use it like as a first coat, and then I go in with my like better mascara over top. So that's kind of been my routine lately until I use up that, because I still want to use it up. Like, I just hate the thought of like getting rid of a perfectly good mascara, even though I kind of like don't like it. Like, I'm never gonna buy it again. I didn't even buy it in the first place. It was like a sample. But yeah, don't buy Smashbox mascara unless you like a really light, no volume, no length, just separation and a little bit of like darkening. Like, if you have light eyelashes, like it'll turn them black, that's for sure, but like it's really not the best mascara. Like, I would not recommend. Alright, well, you get the gist of this look. I think I've kind of said everything I need to say about migraines. Comment below if you get migraines too, so we can bond over the shared pain of being a migraine sufferer. And let me know, like, if you have any symptoms that I don't have, like that I didn't mention that you experienced, because like I'm always curious to learn more about how other people experience migraines, because it is such a weird thing. Like, everybody has their own triggers, everyone has their own symptoms. Some people get, you know, nausea, some people don't, some people get auras, some people don't. So like it's very like personal kind of, but like at the same time so many people get migraines. It's like very common as well. So comment below if you can relate to anything in this video. Unfortunately for you, I don't want anyone to relate to this video, but I know people are going to. And yeah, if you're coming across this video because, you know, you were searching up something to do with migraines, I don't know if you necessarily want to subscribe to my channel's like more of a makeup and beauty channel. I just also talk about like my own life and my own personal experiences and stuff. So if you're interested in that, like, check it out, and then if you like it, you can subscribe. But I just wanted to put it out there that this isn't like necessarily my usual content. Like, I don't have like a migraine channel or anything. But yeah, if you found this interesting, give it a like. That would really help it reach more audiences. And yeah, that's all I kind of have for you guys today, so I will see you guys in the next one. All right, bye guys.